sing, children of the world. Come together and hear the call. Sing, children of the world. Islam will unite us all. Subhanallah walhamdulillah wallahu akbar. Subhanallah walhamdulillah wallahu akbar.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to another show in a series of programs we have discussing our schools and what is missing. Today we will be discussing reflections, critical thinking, and with us in the studio as for this series is Dr. Mamdouh Mohamed. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome back. As always, a pleasure to have you on the show with us.
Thank you.
Now, discussing critical thinking, can you tell us a little bit about what exactly you mean by critical thinking?
And before that, we'd like to say that some people, when they graduate, there's a whole complaint from employers, wide range of complaints. They usually say that the graduates of schools, whether it's high school, whether it's university, they found that the quality of graduates are not really enriching their companies or their organizations. And they feel that they are lacking some skills. And their complaint focuses on the issue of mainly critical thinking. They don't have a critical eye. They don't have an eye that would develop the work. They don't have an eye that sees or looks into the future. And they don't analyze things in front of them and issues in front of them and problems in front of them. And by doing that, they don't go deeper into the roots of the problem, so they come up with superficial solutions. And the reason for this is that the issue of training the students to develop their critical thinking. They don't have opportunities in classrooms or in the universities in general to develop this skill, which is a very important skill. So it is, the definition of it is to train the students to think critically, deeply, with insight into the matter, to analyze it, not to take the superficial issue of it. I remember one time I was in one classroom that teaches Sirah, for example. And the teacher asked me he wanted to engage me in the lesson. And he said that, would you like to give us an idea here, or do you ask the students? And I found him talking about the Prophet ﷺ, who gave his companions a group of titles, beautiful titles, like Abu Bakr, he used to call him As-Siddiq, right? The righteous person. He used to call Umar ibn al-Khattab, Sayfullah al-Maslul, the ready sword of Allah. He used to call each one of them, this was about Khalid ibn al-Walid, he called Khalid ibn al-Walid Sayfullah al-Maslul. So he used to call Umar ibn al-Khattab al-Faruq, the separator between, or the criteria between the haqq and the batil. So he used to give them titles, yes, very good titles.
So he's analyzed their character, is that what we're saying?
Yeah, no, he was teaching his students this. So when I discussed it with the students, I said that what is good about Sayfullah al-Maslul? How do you see this title? I don't see anything that's good in it. So can you guide me to see that? I don't see what you see. So in fact, I wanted to encourage the student to think of that. What is Sayfullah al-Maslul? What is the ready sword of Allah?
So you were encouraging him
to
analyze the problem.
I was trying to give him some guidelines to lead his class. So I asked the students directly the question. So one of the students said that the word sayf, sword, is something really great, which is a sign of bravery. So I discussed it with the students, said, however, this bravery may be for the sake of something good and maybe for the sake of something bad. So how do you see that? So what is good about it? If you use your sword in good things, that's good. But if you use it in bad things, in unlawful things, that's haram. So
So this is how to apply it in the classroom. We're saying that
critical
we
thinking.
can take something very simple.
Very simple.
It's not a special exercise, but all you're doing is encouraging the thinker. So this has to be pretty important.
What you're doing is you dig deep. You look for the pearl, right? So you go deep and see what is going on. I wanted to be sure that the students understand the benefit and the beauty of this title that the Prophet ﷺ gave to Khalid ibn al-Walid. So another student said that al-mashhur, the ready. I said the same thing. It's ready, but we don't know whether you use it in al-haq, in the truth, or in the batil.
So to some degree, from a teacher's perspective, I think this must require a degree of preparation.
Absolutely.
And a degree of planning.
It is planning and preparation.
Otherwise, you're going to run out of the ability to lead the conversation. Even.
And just distributing the time. For example, there are some passages that they need just to be read. Students can do this at home, or the teacher can ask them, okay, you read it. You read the first paragraph, you read the second paragraph, you read the third paragraph, each one of you at the same time. So it's only 5 minutes, the whole class reads the whole lesson. And then each one student would sum the whole paragraph in one sentence. And then here comes the questions from the teacher to go deeper and to see the understanding and how the students analyze the text.
So preparation of questions seems to be the key.
Everything, the preparation of everything.
So what about the student himself? Well, we've talked about that critical thinking is this analysis. And we've said that actually this is what this analysis and this ability to think through problems is so sought after in the workplace. How difficult is it to apply this idea of critical thinking across a variety of subjects?
It's not that difficult, but it just needs a matter of attention. If the teacher plans the lesson well, and he would put somewhere in his lesson plan that he needs to develop critical thinking. And in fact, I have seen that many new books, textbooks that had been published in the USA. There are special box here on one of the corners of the book that would tell the critical thinking, and they put some issues for the teacher so the teacher would pay attention to these issues. So now it's very well detailed. You find it in many subjects. Of course you find it in some countries, but you don't find it in every country. Going back to the example that I mentioned, I'd like to draw the whole picture for the teachers and for the parents to understand. So then I asked another, I said that still I don't see anything that's here unique in that. So why would the Prophet...
So you're saying there's nothing new?
There's nothing new. There's nothing, yeah. Then one student, he said, oh no, it is the addition of the word sword to the word Allah. So when the two words are added together, this gives you the importance of it, because usually the first word, this is called in Arabic addition, when you add two nouns beside each other. The first noun takes its importance when it is added to the second word. When you say that in English, this is the pen, right? When they say that this is the pen of the students, it's different from when you say that this is the pen of the principal, or this is the pen of the president, right? But now here you're saying that this is the sword of Almighty Allah, as if it is like that. So now when you add the two together, it's not the sword of a human being. Oh, now you see the depth of it. So by helping him, by asking the students some questions deeper and deeper, and to give them some clues, so you would direct the way they think, you help the students to think deeper and deeper and deeper. Don't give them the answer directly. You need to develop their thinking. You need to encourage them, motivate them, guide them, give them some clues. And in this way, you develop their critical thinking. In every aspect, this is about, for example, the seerah of the Prophet ﷺ. Just one situation, I've seen that the teacher was so pleased
So here, what we're doing is we're saying this is a variety of subjects.
Of course,
and
you can apply it. I can apply it to many examples.
To many examples, and you've taken this example that you've seen, which is the.
I've seen it myself, and I try to help the teacher to give him some examples of that. I have seen it in other places, and when I was asked, and one time I was in India, and I visited one school there, and they insisted that I would visit the classroom, and I met the students. They were young students. They were girls. I think they were between 9 and 12 years old. And then I divided them into group, and I gave them a situation, a difficult situation. I said that, okay, now if you are in this situation, what would you do? Instead of Khalid ibn al-Walid radiallahu, or instead of Umar ibn al-Khattab.
So you gave them the situation
I gave them
first?
the situation. I divided them into group. I said that come up with the solution, come up with...
And then later?
And later they came up with that. And they did a wonderful job, and I tried to guide them. For example, the situation was even harder than this. I told them that, you know, that one of the reasons why the Muslims lost the Battle of Uhud was the archers who disobeyed the command of the Prophet ﷺ. So the situation was as this. I told them, now try to imagine yourself on the day of judgment. Those archers asked you to be their lawyer. They wanted you to defend them in front of Almighty Allah. What would you do? It's a very critical situation. Yeah.
Very interesting. Yeah.
Very interesting, yes. And it was so deep that they were involved, and they were even shouting together, no, we shouldn't do that. It was very nice thing that to observe them. This is how they came up with it. And I would swear that they came up with answers that sometimes it was better than the answers of some university students. They did not graduate from the high school.
So this is really eliciting.
This is eliciting
and this is getting the creative ability of the children to think through problems.
This is something that we lack in our classes.
But Doctor, one point here that I think many teachers might be thinking, since critical thinking perhaps isn't a formal part of the curriculum, how can we measure how we've progressed and show our bosses that who may be averse, that maybe they're not particularly worried about, they're worried about the result. Where's the result? But you want to show, well, look, I've moved them forward, and I've shown them how to do this critical thinking. How can we encourage that? How can we measure this in some way?
You cannot solve problems without having a critical eye. You need, because with critical eye, you've done analysis, deep analysis of the problem. And once you analyze any problem into its basic components, you can easily understand it. And once you understand it, right, you come up with a solution.
But what about actually measuring that and actually saying to your boss as a teacher, look, I've moved them from here to here?
Of course. This is me. You want to judge me? See the results of my students. We all the time encourage people to focus on the outcome. The outcome is the students.
Okay,
is
I'm
what
going
they
to stop you there, Doctor. We're going to go to a short break right now here on Our Schools, What is Missing. We'll be back very shortly.
Questions that bother you? What about issues of concern to you? Would you like to share things on your mind with us? Are you interested in solutions based on an Islamic perspective? Please join me live in Meet Your Advisor every Friday at 9 p.m. Mecca time, here on Huda TV.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome back to our edition of Schools, What is Missing. With me in the studio, Dr. Mamdouh. Just before the break, we were discussing critical thinking and the various aspects of it, and actually applying it in the class. Now, Doctor, you were telling us about a few techniques and a few examples of your own experience and how you've really got the students involved and really seeing that they're enthusiastic to use their creative abilities and to solve problems, analyse problems and to solve problems. And we talked about measuring that. What's been the outcome of these exercises in the different classes that you've seen?
You see an improvement in the performance of the students. You see that they solve problems in less time than other students who were not given the opportunity to have critical thinking. You see that from the type of questions that the students ask the teachers or they ask each other. You see really an interactive class with students who are fully engaged and listen because of the nature of the question. You can see this from the nature of the question. So if you visit any classroom and you see the type of questions that the students raise, they challenge the teacher, they challenge each other, you can understand that those are good learners. This is the outcome.
I'll have to say that it sounds like an almost ideal classroom, but having said that, which may be very far from what many teachers experience. Having said that, I think that perhaps students, they crave this. They want to actually think, but with our sort of traditional, perhaps one-dimensional, as we've said in previous episodes, attitude towards learning, this isn't happening, and perhaps this is really bringing out the best of the students.
That's why we are here. That's why we are here. We are educating teachers, students, parents, the school principals. We are educating everyone about this issue. And I think the more they know it, definitely they need to get some training, more specific and technical training, and they would come up with the very good results or very good outcomes. I'd like to just to remind you, usually people pay attention not to the performance of the teacher, rather people should pay attention to the outcome, what the students can do or understand and see. You can see this example that had been done by the Prophet ﷺ. One of the things that you can see the achievement, the big achievement of the Prophet ﷺ is his followers. You see that the Prophet ﷺ produced the best generation that ever lived on the earth. And this is the judgment of Almighty Allah. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala described them, that they are the best generation.
We'll come back to the basis in Islam and what we find of critical thinking in the Quran and the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. But just now, I mean, this idea of critical thinking perhaps is new to a lot of people, a lot of viewers, although it shouldn't be. What can we do as perhaps parents, students who are interested in this and want to learn more?
Yeah. Just by reading about it, and I think Mr. Google or Sheikh Google, anybody access it, or Yahoo, and you write critical thinking, you will find, if I'm not mistaken, more than millions of websites that talk about this. And we have to be more selective. For example, critical thinking in math, or critical thinking in learning the seerah, or critical thinking in teaching science, so the more you are specific, right, the more you will get results, and you can use these by yourself. Even you don't need to get a training for that, although we need to do that, and we encourage the principals to use the budget for training the teachers, and this way, this is the shortcut for raising the standards and having good outcomes from their schools.
Okay, so I mean, perhaps as a parent, I'm also a parent, and obviously we're always very worried about how our kids grow up and things like this. So perhaps parents as well can learn, and they can help in this process.
Parents should learn, because when they learn, before you put your child in a specific school, you go and visit a couple of lessons and see how the teacher develop this as a skill among their students. If you see that, you would know that this is a high quality school. It's not one student. You need to see few classes in order to be sure that this is pattern that's consistent throughout the school. This way you feel more comfortable. Not just this skill, there are many other skills.
And even at home, the parents...
Even at home, they can do that.
During the whole life of the child, through the whole life, and particularly the student life, obviously we're focusing on the school life of the child here, he can perhaps add something to that.
This is wonderful, because you can see that when your child has an assignment or a task to do at home, homework, and he would come to you, instead of you sitting with him trying to answer the question for the child.
We spend a lot of time doing that, I'm sure.
Yeah. When the child comes to you, okay, you tell him, okay, think of doing it that way. And he tries to do it, and then he comes back to you and he finds it's still a wrong answer. Okay, because you tell him that perhaps because you didn't consider adding this to it, try to go back and consider adding this to it and come up with the answer. So the child goes back and comes with a different answer, right? Okay, you're pretty close, but now try it again, do this and this and this.
So I think a lot of parents probably feel like they're giving the answers. They're trying to solve it. Like
they should not.
And
they should guide. They should give clues to the student so he would be able to develop the critical thinking.
Right, exactly. And this is perhaps one big clue for parents.
Yeah. This is it for parents, for everyone. Even if you work in a company and you have some employees and there is a problem, they're trying to solve it. You can ask them, how about if you try the other alternative? It may work better. Try it and then come up with the answer. And in this way you develop them, make them think of the details of the problem.
Excellent. Okay, and just on the same kind of train of thought, in fact, what basis, is there anywhere we can find this in Quran and Sunnah of critical thinking and the application of it?
This is wonderful. In fact, the whole Quran is full of that. When you see that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would say many questions like, أَفَلَا يَتَدَبَّرُونَ الْقُرْآنَ? Don't they reflect upon the Quran? Don't they see the meaning that is there? It needs critical thinking to know that. وَفِي أَنفُسِكُمْ أَفَلَا تُبْصِرُونَ? It is in you. Don't you see that? Now, أَفَلَا تَعْقِلُونَ? Don't you think of that? Don't you reflect? So the whole Quran, many verses in the Quran, in the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, let me remind you of that wonderful, amazing hadith of the Prophet ﷺ. He was trying to encourage one companion to think critically about the matter. One time a companion came to the Prophet ﷺ and asked him this question, when is the hour? متى الساعة? When is the day of judgment? The Prophet ﷺ did not give him the answer directly. And instead of that, the Prophet ﷺ answered his question by raising another question. The other question that the Prophet ﷺ, the purpose of it is to make this person think critically of his question. He told him
to reflect.
Absolutely, to reflect, to think deeply on. He asked him, what did you prepare for it? In other words, the Prophet ﷺ was telling him that what is the significance of knowing the time of the hour? This is not the significant thing. The most important thing is to prepare yourself for the hour. Are you ready?
Is to think through what you
to think what
have
your
prepared,
question.
how you were prepared.
Oh, I shouldn't have asked it that way. I really should keep myself busy, preparing myself for that day. Yeah. So the Prophet ﷺ was trying to guide the person to think critically of the question that he raised and to see how significant it is.
Okay, and that's, amazing number of examples.
Oh, there are hundreds of examples
in the Sunnah. But just before we finish up and wrap up this episode, can you just remind us again about the importance of critical thinking and how it helps in our going through our whole school life and in the end in our actual job? Can you just remind us, sum that up for us?
We live in a very complex world. Every day it becomes more complex. You see the degree of complexity in the computers nowadays and the speed that they react to. So everything is running and everything is becoming more sophisticated. And you need to be, in order to fit into this environment, into this world that's progressing very quickly, you need to be equipped with some tools. One of these tools is that the critical thinking. If you are developed, if you are trained, even when you are young, in kindergarten, that's why they give the child in kindergarten opportunities to explore, to test, to see, to play with.
So it starts from an early age.
As early as possible. As early as possible. Even at home, before your kids go outside, you can all the times, even the toys that you select for them, they can be meaningful toys. So let them think why this thing is going to this direction.
And in the end, what are we getting at school and
you're
at
getting
work?
this skill which you will use almost in every, not in every subject, in every classroom, in every period, you need to get this. And in this way, you become a quick learner. You learn very quickly, and you will be described as a problem solver, because you can solve problems when you think deeply, when you analyze the problem into and make it into details and know the basic components of this problem or the basic reasons behind this problem. Okay. You can solve it easily. And in this way, you can solve problems throughout all your life.
And perhaps even become the leaders of tomorrow.
This is the quality of leader.
The great hope. So, Doctor, thank you very much for your time on this episode. We thank you, viewers, for staying with us. We hope to see you next time. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Sing, children of the world, come together and hear the call. Sing, children of the world, Islam will unite us all. Sing, children of the world, come together and hear the call. Sing, children of the world, Islam will unite us all. Subhanallah walhamdulillah wallah